afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Playbook. As always, your best friend Paul here. If you're watching this when it comes out, which is this week, Christmas is approaching. So if you celebrate, Merry Christmas to you. If not, I hope you enjoy the long weekend anyways. My guest this week is someone who I'm very familiar with. You might not be familiar with. His last name is an element off the periodic table, just like mine. So we have gold and silver today. My guest is Charles Silverfield. How are you, Charles?
I'm doing well, Paul. How about you?
Not bad, man. Not bad. Thanks for sitting down with me today. We were supposed to shoot on Friday. Charles and I both got a little sick, so this is our makeup day. So round two, kind of, right?
Round two, but you know, can always go better than round one
Yeah,
sometimes.
yeah. Practice makes perfect, right?
Exactly.
So, Charles, for the people out there that don't know you as well as I do, let's start by learning a little bit about yourself, how you got into real estate, and how you got to where you are today, that sort of thing.
So interestingly enough, real estate was never in my mind in the cards for me. I graduated from Southern Methodist University in 2014 with a degree in poli science and history. So my first goal, my first job really was working on Capitol Hill. So really dealing with legislation, and spent 3 years working on Capitol Hill. And the first year was essentially working at the front desk and taking calls, essentially training as if I worked at the lost luggage counter. No one's calling their congressman in a good mood, I can assure you that. And if they do, it's few and far between. So, that kind of parlayed into my second job. I was with a contracting company that was part of the DoD for 3 years. So I got to spend some time abroad, got some extra experience outside of the box, and that was wonderful. Unfortunately, after that, got injured and had to go back stateside. And as soon as I was back stateside, my parents are a little bit older and I wanted to be closer to them. And my home state, being born and raised in the beautiful state of Florida and the beautiful city of Tampa, I felt right back at home. So that being said, I began work for a company called Ramos Companies, which was a contracting company. And from there, I saw that, hey, some of these checks that these real estate agents are getting are pretty hefty. And my father always kind of pushed me into real estate, wanted me to go into real estate. And I just finally made the decision. I said, hey, let's give it a shot. And it has been the best 2.5 years of my life. I have learned so much, and I can't really say that my first year was the best, but working at 54, as soon as I changed over to 54, it was truly an amazing change for me. And every day I gather knowledge, learn something new, whether it's something we've got that comes out from our broker or something I read online. It's just an exciting time to be a realtor. It's not an easy time, but it's definitely an exciting time with the current market we're in. And, I wouldn't want to be anywhere else.
Absolutely, man. So I just wanted to say I didn't know you were poli sci, so you and I can relate there because I'm also poli sci. And look at us, we're both not on Capitol Hill, as you said. So
I think it's probably a good time to not be on Capitol Hill anyway. So a lot of roadblocks. I don't think anything's getting done, but it is what it is. We're down
yeah.
here now, and they can worry about it up there.
So Charles, you said it's been 2.5 years now. Is that right?
That's about right. So I was licensed September, oh goodness, 2019.
Oh
So
wow.
it's coming up.
So you've been then thrown, or you spent the bulk of your career, at least in real estate, in the thick of this insanity that we call a market.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My first deal actually was when things were just kicking off. So I thought it was an easy gig. It was ironic. The lead that had called in, this was back, I was with Remax, we were getting Zillow calls, and pick up the Zillow call. I had no idea what to do or say. I was just told, you go to this property, you print out this sheet, and you see if they like it and report back. And I said, well, I can follow orders. Like, that's one thing I can do to an extent. And so ironically enough, she had her eye on that house for a long time. full price cash offer. Got the contract, and I said, man, this isn't easy. Why didn't I start doing this a long time ago? Fast forward to today. It is not like that. That was an absolute anomaly. So I wish I had more of those deals that would come along, but I guess I got it out of the way early. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
So realistically, for me, my exposure with real estate has been, for the most part, strictly positive. But one of the big keys that I've taken away is that you're never going to know it all. So it's so important just keep learning, keep educating yourself. And really, to me, as long as I do that and I'm enjoying it and I'm happy, that's really the mainstay for me.
Always be a student, right? That's what they say.
Exactly.
Bada bing. So this being the bulk of your career in this crazy market, first of all, I mean, at least from my perception, I would say when things do calm down, if they do, you'll be in a better place than some people, given that you've, cut your teeth on this insanity. So maybe that's a way to stay positive, right?
Absolutely. And it just comes with practice. And yeah, it just comes with practice. Every deal is going to be different.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do like to talk a little bit about the market conditions on here, mostly for me, for my curiosity, but also for people out there that might be listening, because, you have the average consumer who just likes to stay up to date on these things, similar to myself. And then you also have agents who might listen and they want to see how other agents are managing these things. So I had a couple questions for you based on that. But before I talk more specifically, could you just give me perhaps a brief overview as to how the current market conditions have affected your business personally?
So that is something personally I've noticed a lot of my clients, with everything kind of being up in the air as far as rates are concerned, especially the Fed interest rate and other outliers with the current political climate and things like that. And obviously we cannot overlook the importance that COVID has on the market as well, that a lot of folks are kind of pulling back a little bit instead of making decisive maneuvers, as we were seeing last year, where they were just wanted to get out of the northern states and come down to Florida. Sight unseen, did not matter. So I'm seeing a lot of hesitation, and that's really because we don't know what the federal interest rate is going to be. Obviously, with Chairman Powell, we're looking at a potential 0.25% change in that. And, that could be higher, could be lower. Historical rates average between 5 and 7. So right now we're seeing very low interest rates, which are phenomenal. But right now we've got a big holiday coming up that a lot of people celebrate. And a lot of folks are saying, hey, we're going to hold off until spring. And they might be spring as January, and they just want to get through the holidays, or spring really waiting, because when they meet on December 24th, after Christmas is when the Federal Reserve and the chairmans, they all get together and they decide on, quote, the consensus. So essentially, with the rate hikes, we're looking at changes in 2022. It's really going to depend on, obviously, retail sales, jobs, continuing jobs, and the home building, which is super crucial. Obviously, stocks have sunk last week, which we saw, and right before Christmas, that's a little bizarre to see. But again, I think there's a little bit more hesitation in the air because of the ongoing pandemic.
Makes sense. So you were talking a little bit about rates. So that was actually the next question I had for you. I think that's a largely attractive factor, if not the most attractive factor to most home buyers right now, is the historic lows. Now, I haven't been keeping up with it a whole lot. Just based on what you're saying, there's still some uncertainty as to whether or not they are going to be going up. Is that correct? Or is the consensus that they most likely will be rising?
So the consensus is, really we'll have a direct answer January 26th,
Right.
as whether it's what the number is going to be. So essentially things wrap up Christmas Eve, the 24th, around 2 p.m. And after about that time, they go back and they celebrate with their families, and we really will see kind of what I'm expecting as far as the forecast is the Federal Reserve in the coming months really um, looking at the probability from what I've read and what I've seen, we're looking at this, it's about a 64 percentile chance that it's going to go up by 0.25%,
Gotcha. Okay.
which
So,
is not astronomical. But again, it's also more on the conservative side because, this week we had the Dow down, I think it was about 1.7%, and the S&P down, I think it was down 1.9%. So these are all things that in my previous lines of work, I didn't have to think too much about. But in my current position as a realtor, it's extremely important because that's what my clients are thinking about. They're making the
right.
biggest purchase of their lives, and market indicators, this is one of the huge ones. And for me, understanding that, obtaining more knowledge on it, staying up to date with it is absolutely crucial, especially when you have a chaotic market like we're in here in Florida.
No doubt. I can say just based on, the multitude of people I've spoken with, you seem to be pretty well informed, well read on that. So maybe I'll have to get your sources because I'm also interested in this kind of stuff, even though it doesn't directly impact me. But good to hear some statistics there, man.
Exactly. And, maybe you run into a social event and people are talking about it. It's nice to know a little something. You may not know, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room also, which is always the good thing. So
Yeah.
at least I try not to be, which is pretty easy.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll have actually, family members, friends ask me these things, and I'm like, I could refer you to so many more people that know more about this than I do, but you got the wrong guy. You know what I mean? So, Charles, another condition that's unique to this market that I want to talk a little bit about with you is at least the bulk of transactions. I'm not super involved, but I see a lot of agents dealing with multiple offer situations, whether you be the list agent or the buyer's agent, you're trying to beat out other offers. Primarily, as far as I know, due to just limited supply and quite the excessive demand. So I'm wondering, in your opinion, how would you say it's best to navigate this? And, you could come from either the perspective of the buyer's agent or the seller's agent. How would you recommend agents sort of navigate a multiple offer situation?
So I'll play devil's advocate here and be the buyer's agent. And I have a little bit more experience on that side as well. So one of the big things that I've noticed in this market is I'm seeing less and less folks care as far as the sellers and the list side goes about necessarily the numbers, but they're more interested in who they're going to be working with. So building that rapport, that phone call before you submit an offer to ask questions about the home, building the rapport with the listing agent and really getting your name, making yourself, humanizing yourself to them, letting them know when they see your offer hit their inbox, they already know who you are. And they already feel comfortable with you, even if they've never worked with you before. It's one of those things that it sounds kind of silly, and you can talk about contracts and addendums, appraisal gaps, all of those things. We could get into that. But what I've found with the multitude of offers that we run into, when the property's priced right and it's in a good location, we're playing the 48-hour rule. And if you can get in there, become best friends with that listing agent, I've had a few offers get accepted just based upon that. They've even received higher offers numerically, but because they prefer to work with, you've got a lender that's not a big bank. We like to use our in-house lenders, Sunpoint Home Loans, shout out to them. You guys are awesome. And when they see that, you're human, you're on top of it, they're going to want to work with you as opposed to someone who's not communicating. If you're not communicating before you submit the offer, I can't imagine how it's going to be if you get to be under contract. So
Yeah.
Obviously communication, building that rapport, and kind of getting out ahead of things, especially when it's a property that's going to have multiple offers, is extremely important, because without that, you're just going to be another ticket that's going to be pulled out of the hat.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've seen some agents use the strategy of like having their buyers write some kind of letter basically saying, this is why we love your home. This is why we think it'd be a good fit for us. And sometimes, they'll get a little, I don't know if you're technically speaking allowed to do this, but I've seen examples where they're like, here's a picture of my dog, or here's me with the fam. You know what I mean?
So, and what I call those love letters, and anything's better than a love letter from the IRS. So, um, when I say love letters, it's really, I've had a few clients do it, but realistically for me, I feel it's more important for them to understand and me to know my buyers well enough to convey their situation to either, whether it be the sellers, the listing agent, whoever is in the mix that's going to put our offer at the top and say, listen, this is the perfect house for them. And oftentimes, there's going to be owners that are home. And if your buyers and the owners get along at the showing, I've had a few of those that have actually happened. And sometimes throughout the transaction, they're just going to be texting each other. It's almost like limited representation, but obviously keep an eye out for that. So again, it goes back to really just knowing who you're working with, being comfortable, and to an extent, almost being a chameleon. Obviously, you're going to treat different clients in certain ways. Obviously, the most professional you can be, but at the same time, you want to be their best friend, even if it's for 30 days. But after that 30 days, you don't have to be best friends. You can just be friends with them, right? So it's long story short, to answer your question, Paul, I don't think that they're a bad idea, but I think that having the knowledge of your buyers so that if they're getting 15 offers, they're not going to read your 2-page love letter.
Yeah.
They're not going to care about the picture of your dog if they have a cash offer with an appraisal waiver. They're just not. I mean, because they don't know you, they don't know your buyers. Because if you don't make that first impression, then it's going to be very difficult for you to get that impression in for your buyers just on a piece of paper. Because at the end of the day, they might just gloss over it thinking it's some long-winded addendum in MLA format.
Oh, yeah.
So
not interested.
So for me, I don't want to give it a hard yes or a hard no. I think it really depends on the clients and, the offer that you're submitting. If it's an FHA offer on a lower side when you're competing against multiple offers, it might be a good idea, especially if you're not able to get in touch with the listing agent for whatever reason. And really with that, I mean, it goes back to being open with communication. If you communicate with the other side, I like to call it co-opetition, because obviously our fiduciary responsibilities are to our clients, right? But we want to cooperate with the other side in order to get the offer accepted, especially through the contract period. But at the end of the day, we still want to win and get the best deal and the best buy possible.
It's a fine line to walk, my friend, but somehow you all do it. My next question relating to the market here is something that I haven't gotten to talk a whole lot about on this podcast, but it's something that interests me, and I think a lot of people out there, which is, this market can be intimidating to first-time home buyers, especially because being a first-time home buyer in any market, I think, is a daunting thing to be, a daunting situation to be in. So what sort of advice do you give if you had a client that was a first-time home buyer and they're like, listen, Charles, I really want to buy a home. We think we have the means to do so, but we're just really intimidated. We're not sure we're going to get the place that's right for us or whatever it might be. What sorts of things do you say to those people to sort of ease their hesitancies, if that is a word?
In that situation, it goes really as far back as educating them. And that's going to come on the first phone call, right? Or the second phone call. Even if we want to make an offer right now, but this is our first time buying a home. And you say, well, there's multiple offers. Often you get, well, we don't want to get into a bidding war, right? Never call it a bidding war. It's not a bidding war. It is a multiple offer scenario, because let's just face it, it sounds way better.
Yeah.
So when it's really the way you explain it to them. It's going to be like this in this market. If you want to buy a house in this area, you are more than likely going to be faced with a multiple offers situation. So in order to calm their fears, I go over what we have, our beautiful buyer's guide that's given to us by our marketing team that we are very lucky to have. And that booklet alone has quelled so many fears of my clients, just showing the simple roadmap. Hey, it's just going to be the same way once we're under contract. Just because there's multiple offers, sure, obviously there's ways you can make your offer stronger, but if they're capped at X amount, say, hey, this is like you were saying earlier, it might be a good one for them to cut their teeth off, even if you don't think so. Because after that first step, even if they're head over heels in the house, it can be a situation where, as long as you're educating and continuing to tell them and reassure them, being there, phone calls, picking up, and just really, you're there, you're working so that they can work, right? They have to make money in order for their loan to go through, or for their cash and proof of funds, right? If they can't work, you can't sell them a house.
Yeah.
So ensuring that they're calm, knowing their personality type is huge. And again, it comes back to reassurance, Paul, because if you don't have the confidence to handle it yourself in a multiple offer situation, your clients aren't going to have the confidence in you, because it's going to radiate. And you want to radiate that confidence. It's saying, guys, I know it's your first time, but you hired me. I am the expert you hired. You're in good hands. And here's why. You might have not been in the situation before, but you hired me, and I've been in the situation multiple times, pun intended. So that being said, it puts them at ease when you say, guys, this is almost as if it's standard procedure, because in this environment, it is pretty much standard procedure.
Yeah.
It's when there's not multiple offers, sometimes I get worried. I'm like, why does nobody else want it? What am I missing here?
Mm-hmm.
So if they trust you, then they're not going to worry as much about the multiple offer situation. So doing your homework always, always, always is important. Obviously, about the house. When you get to that house, I don't care if you have 10 showings that day, you're going back to back to back, and it's a first-time home buyer. Knowing, obviously, the major items, the big ticket items, roof age, as much information as you can gather on those homes, so that when you go in there, you're confident and you're saying, oh, because, here's what I think about this. At the end of the day, obviously, it's going to be their decision, but the more expertise you exude, the more likely they are going to be to trust you, be comfortable with you. And when it comes down to a multiple offer situation and you've shown them X amount of houses, they're going to say, at this point, we realize that no matter what, it's going to be in that, but we trust you to get us through this.
Makes
we
sense.
have faith in it.
So it's all about pretty much the confidence that you display. It's essentially, and it makes me think of, like, I have a buddy that likes to go skydiving a lot, and he's now become an instructor. And I'm like, dude, I don't understand how you coach people through something that's so stressful. And obviously skydiving might be a bit more stressful than buying a house, but it's the same thing that you're saying, which is, if you put them at ease, what you're doing, you can walk them through the steps properly. That tends to set people at ease. So as long as you're not freaking out, I would think people would be in the same boat as you.
Absolutely. And, I think that's a great analogy. It's just like, hey, if you want to go for a ride in a fighter aircraft, you're going to assume, if you get in the back seat, that the person flying the airplane knows what they're doing.
Fingers crossed.
If not, probably not going to be a good time.
Yeah, it would not be a good Groupon deal that you got for that fighter jet.
No, it would not.
So Charles, that's all really good advice, man. Definitely enjoy talking about the market, because it's, like I said, something that I'm personally interested in as well. But to pivot a little bit, we're going to talk about you, if you're all right with that.
Sure.
Yeah. So for you, my friend, I had a question, which is something that someone posited that I start asking on this podcast, which is, when we're talking to, and I didn't even say this up top, I usually like to give a flowery intro, but Charles, you're pretty consistently up at the top of our leaderboards here at the brokerage. You're pretty solid agent all around, man. So, of course, so this person suggested that I ask people like yourself, perhaps what is your biggest strength if you had to narrow it down to one thing? And I don't mean that in the typical job interview way. I mean that more so like, what is something that you employ in your career that you think, benefits your success in some form or another?
Being the ability to essentially be a chameleon, mirroring your client. And if you can talk their talk, whether they're from Long Island or whether they're from South Carolina, it does not matter, right? Find commonalities with them. And when you find those commonalities, you can put in that human element. They don't just see you as a realtor, they see you as Paul Goldman or as Charles. You want them to feel, just like we were saying, comfortable in that sense. So as far as the strengths, thankfully, I've got some background in, working with people and kind of being able to read people. And I think that's very important to learn. There's tons of books on it. I mean, really just understanding where they're coming from, why they're moving. And if you can do that and really mirror their personality type, right? Some people are fast talkers and they want boom, 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 boom. Some people need their hands held throughout the entire process for every house you show them. Some people say they might be savvy investors. So really understanding their background and then being able to mirror it when you speak with them. All right, I just got off the phone with the first-time home buyer and I'm about to call in investors. I've got to change gears. So I'm going to go from professor to I'm going to keep my mouth shut and listen about cap rates.
I think that's a really useful skill, no matter what career you're in, especially if you're in something with the sales or customer service or whatever it might be. I mean, in my last job as well, we dealt with all different kinds of people and, we're explaining financial terms to them that maybe they've never heard before, or maybe they are in finance and they know it quite well. So same thing as you, I would always have to go from this is a teenager buying their first car to this is somebody who was in the car business for 20 years. You know what I mean? So I think that's definitely a useful skill to have. And it helps both you and the client, really. Now, on the other hand, sometimes this can be a difficult question to answer, but what would you say has been your biggest hurdle? It's been 2.5 years, so you've got quite some experience under your belt, but maybe it was something at the beginning that you had to adjust for, or maybe it's something you're still dealing with. I don't know. What would you say that hurdle would be? The market was basically the biggest hurdle you had to overcome when you first set out in real estate, right?
So, like I said, it was just never really a big factor in my previous employment positions. And so my biggest hurdle was really understanding how much it impacted the market, right? And impacts the decisions that my clients will make. And when I started to realize that, I said, I should probably figure this out myself so that when I get asked questions, I can at least have a rough idea. And the more I've gotten into it, the more interesting it's gotten to me. And it's absolutely crucial to know because things are changing at a dynamic and rapid pace, and you have to be able to embrace the change and adapt, improvise, and overcome. I mean, it's just part of being a realtor is embracing change and being able to fail fast, fail often, but fail forward. You want to be able to learn from anything that has happened in the past and that you can, all right, well, that investor client just fired me because I had no idea about the current market conditions. It's happened. So I won't let it happen again. It's that simple. So the way I don't let it happen again is I stay up to date. Every chance I get, every morning I wake up, I check and just see what's going on, whether it be in the political hemisphere, just the market atmosphere, just the real estate atmosphere. Check them all, and then you can kind of centralize your decision. And pulling from different sources is always something I recommend. And then you formulate your own opinion and your own thought process based upon what you have experienced.
That makes perfect sense. So if there's people out there who are having similar, anxieties to how you were when you first entered the market, it's just the best to stay up to date, stay well read on these things. And like you said, that'll help not only you navigating certain things, but to your clients, it definitely helps us have somebody who's experienced and well read in their corner. So I think that's great advice all around.
Absolutely. I
Yeah.
appreciate it.
No problem, man. So I just had two more questions here for you, Charles, before I let you go. This one's kind of a fun one. If you had not chosen real estate as your career, what kind of things would you see yourself doing alternatively?
Realistically, probably the antithesis of what I do right now, which would be some type of environmental lobbying for the state of Florida. I love my home state. However, there's a lot of areas that I think are being overexploited, and there's a lot of large companies that, one, I wouldn't mind working for, but two, they're also kind of destroying the foundation. I won't name any names other than Mosaic,
Yeah.
and we'll leave it at that. And essentially, I show a lot of properties down in DeSoto, Manatee County, and really driving those places, I learn more and more about the state. And I feel like it's another way to educate myself, is showing properties that are outside of my comfort zone, outside of areas that I'm maybe not as familiar with as, South Tampa, where I grew up. But the more you go and show properties in that area, the more you're going to learn about that area. So when you get that call with that lead who's ready to buy in that area, you all of a sudden it. And one of the things that I've seen, the more that I've been servicing, whether it be Mayaca all the way to Wachula, things like that, is the large land acquisitions that are being taken up by companies such as Mosaic, even home builders like Lennar. It used to be, when I would drive down to Wachula, my friend has a ranch down there. It's about 5,000 acres, and it's just beautiful. I am 30 minutes from home, if you will, 25 minutes. And I mean, it goes from the middle of nowhere to, I'm seeing Lennar DR Horton bands.
Suburban sprawl, right?
Exactly right. And seeing that just is one of the things that says, all right, maybe we've got too much saturation in the state. So obviously lobbying would be kind of what I was educated to do, if you will, with our poli-sci history background. So we can at least sympathize with that, and to protect the state. But I think Mosaic might pay more for lobbying for them. So it's kind of a double-edged sword, if you will.
Without a doubt. You might have just given my favorite answer to that question, man, because I could not obviously, but honestly see myself doing something similar as well. I thought about getting into environmental activism when I was, in college. And so I can definitely identify with what you're saying, especially, I haven't been out to Mayaca City, but even here in Land Lakes and Wesley Chapel and that sort of thing, the amount of development we've seen in the past just 2 years has been insane. And some of it, is great because it's bringing jobs here. It's bringing tourism and that sort of thing. But at the same time, you lose a lot of what makes the state special. So I think there's definitely a balance that needs to be achieved in some way.
Seeing too many wild animals on the corners of streets, it's crazy.
Yeah, without a doubt, man.
So, at the end of the day, we have to also realize that someone's going to, if it's not going to be us that's selling them the property, somebody else is going to do it.
This is true.
That's kind of where my head's at with that one. So it's a tough answer for me, because obviously, like I said, it's the antithesis of what I'm doing right now.
Makes sense. Yeah, but I was saying, there's definitely a balance. So at least you have the heart to acknowledge these things, rather than perhaps some others who would just be like, screw it,
There's plenty of people saying screw it already. So I figured, why not join the other side for once?
So my last question for you, Charles, is the way we end every podcast, which is, if you could give a word of advice to new agents or struggling agents out there, what would you say to them?
Stay hungry.
There you go.
Stay hungry. It's a tough market. Agents that have been doing this for 20, 30 years are struggling. Stay hungry, continue to educate yourself, keep that drive. And anytime that you think something is going to be a waste of your time, it might be, but in this market, take a chance because there's not too many chances out there. So that being said, just grind. And if work ethic isn't your thing, it might not be the best career situation for you. But at the end of the day, once you get a feel, you'll be able to balance your personal and your business life. But my biggest thing of advice, if you're a new agent, if you're not hungry, you better clear out your cabinets because you need to stay hungry. You want to act like there is no guarantee that you will have another deal. There's no guarantee unless you make it happen. If you're not reaching out, if you're not making things happen, if you're not hungry to make money, it's not going to come to you. It's a lot easier to spend than it is to make.
Exactly. Yeah, I'll probably misquote this, and I also said this on the last episode, but what you just said reminded me of this, which is a statistic, which is like, I believe 87% of agents don't make it, more than 3 years in their career because, one reason or another, but they fail out or they quit or something like that. So the person that was, offering up the statistic just said to be that part of the 13% that does stay in it. Like you were saying, stay hungry, keep grinding it out. Even I'm sure you're going to go through, not everybody is perfect, so you're going to go through periods of stagnation like you were saying, but that sort of thing. And let me rephrase that, which is you have to have those periods of stagnation and being hungry to appreciate the moments when you're not. So I think if you,
no doubt,
yeah, you just got to see the light at the end of the tunnel for lack of a better phrasing, but that's great advice, man. This is true. Even if it's very dim, it's there.
It's there. Just got to keep plugging.
Absolutely. Well, Charles, man, thanks so much for sitting down with me this week. I really appreciate you, sir.
Thank you for having me, Paul. It was absolutely an honor and a pleasure, sir.
No problem, man. So Merry Christmas to all you people out there, and Merry Christmas to you as well, Charles, if I don't see you.
All right.
All right, man. Catch you later. All right, that was Charles Silverfield, Silver and Gold, for this week's holiday episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you all have a splendid holiday season. My stress level is at a maximum right now, but it truly is a wonderful time of the year. So new things. Let's see. Actually, nothing new this time around. So as usual, just go ahead and follow us on social media at The Real Estate Playbook. Visit us at our website, therealestateplaybook.com. You can listen to us everywhere you get your podcasts: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, the whole nine. If you're looking for a full list of all those links and you're tired of listening to me rattle them off, you can go to our link tree. I'll go ahead and put that in the description. But other than that, I don't have anything new for you guys. Hope you enjoyed the holidays, like I said, and we will see you next week.